Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Zach Drew.
And I'm Andrew Bellers.
I believe globalists and the corporations that they own are actually testing the waters with Alex Jones, seeing how the American public is going to react. You see, Christians and those with conservative values are the single greatest threat to their agenda, which their agenda is in line with what the Antichrist's agenda will be in the end times. You see, what they're doing right now is they're starting out by trying to take down one of the most radical men. But they will slowly come for you and I. You see, it's the classic analogy of the frog who was ultimately boiled to death as the water slowly rose. And it simply wasn't wise enough to understand or react to it. We have a powerful show planned for you today, and it's going to, I believe it's going to minister to you because it is a dark world right now. And in the times that we're living in, the amount of deception that is taking place, it's becoming harder. If you're not grounded in Jesus, if you're not grounded in His holy word, you're going to be deceived. And if you're not grounded there, it's going to be harder and harder for you to differentiate between what is truth and what is lies. Before we get into today's program, I just want to take 2 minutes of your time, and I want to ask you to financially partner with us. We need about 400 people giving $50 every month to achieve this very entry level of our vision that the Lord has given us here at the ministry. We need new cameras. We need new mics. We need editing bays. We need new lights. For example, whenever you were a co-host with me on Revelation in the News, which was a blast, I loved that time, we had lights, and they're LED lights. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a big guy, okay? and I get really warm really easily. So like the natural, normal lights that they might use in some of the older studios, they're Parkans and Lico lights, and they're incredibly warm. Well, the new technology, which a lot of people have today, they're LED lights. And we actually had an LED kit for our set at Revelation the News. And even though it was about only 5 or 6 lights and the lighting looked perfect on that set, it was over $30,000 just for 5 or 6 lights. And so I'm on staff here at IGBY, International Ministries, which remember, IGBY stands for I go before you, a promise that God gave to Joshua in Deuteronomy 31 as he was about to lead an entire wandering generation into the promised land. And that promised land today is Jesus, and that's our ultimate vision here at the ministry. But I work here. I also, right now, I have to work another job as well, the same thing with you.
Right.
And we also have someone else that has joined our team. His name is Eric Rodriguez. And he is my brother-in-law. He worked with me at the Jim Bakker Show and also worked with me down in Florida. He is a social media marketing man of the hour. I'm telling you, he is incredible. And him and my sister and my nephews, they are now living here in Central Illinois. And the team is going to keep growing. So we're believing for 400 people to get behind us in a monthly way. And maybe you can't do $50 a month and do something smaller, but I also believe there's an incredible amount of people that can do much more than that. Stand with us.
Yeah, and I think the goals that you have they're completely doable. They're totally reasonable. We just need your help.
That's right.
And we believe that God is, the calling of this ministry at this time is that God would give us discernment between what is deception and what is truth, so that we can bring truth and good content that is straight from God's heart to you. And if you want to stand behind that content, if you believe in this content, and you think it really is the word that God has for this generation, for this time, for such a time as this, then share our videos with people that you know. I think you would be surprised how many people that this message would strike a chord with right now in our generation.
Amen. So it's all on the screen. You can send checks to IGBY, Decatur, Illinois, P.O. Box 797, zip code 62525. And we have an incredible online payment system. It's a Christian online payment system on our website. It's called Tithely, and it's literally, it's a Christian online payment system, and it's incredible. Okay, let's get into the topic. By way of review, we're going to have to recap a couple of things. So Alex Jones is being systematically taken out. Now, why this is important is Alex Jones, who is the host of InfoWars, is the largest right, conservative, alternative media organization in America. He is the biggest one. Now, I need to make this clear to you. This is not about whether you like Alex Jones or not. Now, I've said before on the show, I personally think about 80 to 85% of what Alex Jones says is right on. And it's the theatrics, the other 15 to 20%, that he really does get a bad rep, and that's just that. But it's not whether you like him or don't like him. It's what is happening to him right now and what it's going to ultimately mean for you and I. So right now, like I said, this is by way of review, and then we're going to unpack new information on today's program. So Alex Jones, he has now been banned from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Apple iTunes, and like the podcasts, okay? Now, but this is the thing. They're quoting hate speech, which they define. They define what hate speech is. But yet it has nothing to do with hate speech. It's because he became too powerful and he became too popular. And whether you like him or you hate him, with the largest alternative news site, he helped elect President Donald Trump. And the media, or the left corporations, the media corporations, are systematically taking him out. But this is the biggest thing that needs to be in our head, Andrew. Mm-hmm. The man didn't break any laws.
No, he didn't. And it really, hate speech is this huge catch-all phrase that basically is just this reason for them to go after anyone who dissents from what they like. They keep changing the goalposts. It's like trying to play a game where the rules keep changing every 5 minutes. Good. And that's literally what we're going through. And the reason that they targeted Alex Jones is exactly what you said. He was a huge reason why Donald Trump got elected.
That's right.
And Donald Trump's election was a huge upset. I mean, there was literally a point in the left where there was a general consensus among a huge portion of the left that Obama would be it. He was the turning point. After him, we may never see a Republican president again.
And they were right, because many of them do not believe in the Lord. They were right that if the Lord hadn't intervened, that's what's going to happen. And I was talking to someone actually very recently who I greatly respect, that the fact of the matter is this: even if Donald Trump is elected in 2020, he's going to be the last conservative president we have in America. With the amount of the immigrants that they're being bused in, almost 1 million a year, after that, it's going to be actually, if he gets elected, by the year 2024, it actually may at that point in time be statistically impossible to ever elect another Republican candidate. So it's going to rapidly accelerate here in just the next few years.
Yeah, and the left, they own Hollywood. They own the media. They own the college campuses. And because of the huge upset of this Republican election, they have gone full-scale assaults. And I think this, honestly, Alex Jones was one of the riskier moves that they've made in recent history. But I think they're only going to up it. And their assault is only going to grow from this point.
It's going to start with the most radical, which is Alex Jones. And then it's going to move to them trying to systematically take out the NRA. But it's slowly like the frog in the boiling water. You need to understand that they're coming for you and I. And Alex Jones did not break any laws. It's actually not even illegal to say crazy things. It's not actually even illegal to lie, which is another thing. They took him out because of his power and popularity. Because like I've said before, if it was about hate speech, then why is David Duke allowed to be on these platforms? Why is Louis Farrakhan allowed to be on these platforms? It's not about hate speech. It's because of his power and popularity. But what does that mean for the church? What does that mean for you and I as believers in Jesus? It means this. It means that the moment that they perceive the church as having power, mass censorship is going to take place. That moment, mass censorship is going to take place. So now, let's move forward. The assault has continued. So he's off Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, iTunes, basically where the world watches content today. He has been removed. The only place he has now is simply just his website and his radio show. But I'm telling you right now, for millennials, we don't go to websites like that very often. We watch on social media platforms. So many people believe that Alex Jones truly is going to go down the memory hole. You know what I'm saying? We're going to lose track of him if they succeed. So they've taken him off all of these things, but it still wasn't enough. The largest online payment system, PayPal, is now doing their part. They're trying to silence him, still not enough. Now they're trying to commit financial sabotage. From The Verge, the article reads, PayPal bans InfoWars from promoting hate. PayPal will no longer do business with InfoWars. PayPal broke the news in an email to InfoWars this last week, saying the company had conducted a comprehensive review of the InfoWars site and found that it promoted hate and discriminatory intolerance against certain communities and religions. PayPal's partnership with the site was highlighted. So their partnership with the site was highlighted just a few weeks ago on the site called Right Wing Watch by their writer named Jared Holt, who described, quote, highly publicized and violations of the platform's own terms of service. We're talking about InfoWars. And he said this, removing PayPal from the InfoWars platform inhibits Jones' ability to make money from his malice. So Right Wing Watch just a few weeks ago did this piece saying, PayPal, break it off with InfoWars. Right Wing Watch is literally a horrific site with the intent of truly taking down anybody that's on the conservative right. Right Wing Watch is a left-wing political arm that is funded by George Soros. You see, Right Wing Watch is owned by People for the American Way, which is funded by George Soros's Open Society Initiative.
And the great irony of this that we're talking about Alex Jones is that, you know, in a sense, this kind of is a conspiracy. That Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, within the span of 48 hours, that every major media platform would drop his content like that. That seems coordinated to me.
Absolutely.
And I don't think any one of these companies stands alone. I think they stand together.
That's right. That's right. You know, did you know that actually I was mentioned on Right Wing Watch a couple of times?
Yeah, no,
You did? Okay.
I noticed, yeah.
I've been mentioned on there a couple of times. And so George Soros's people have written about me on Right Wing Watch. So here's the thing. Another article, PayPal bans InfoWars after lobbying by George Soros-funded group. PayPal processor PayPal has banned InfoWars. Why? In what represents nothing less than, like you're saying, Andrew, a political ploy designed to financially sabotage an influential media outlet right before the midterm elections. InfoWars was told that the criticism of Islam and opposition to transgenderism being taught to children in schools were two examples of hate. So being against transgenders coming in and perverting the minds of our children, that is, if you speak out against that, that is now hate in America.
Yeah, and that we've seen this sweep across Europe. We've seen it attack Canada. If you've heard of Bill C-16 in Canada, there is a concerted effort, and I think at this point in time, America is not full-scale ready to accept it, but the media outlets are, and Hollywood is, and all of the voices that you'll see when you tune in to any TV or computer screen in this country are willing to say that you're hateful if you do not, to the letter, follow our agenda.
And it wasn't just Right Wing Watch. You know, you need to find out what companies own which companies. Because it's not just Google. Like I've said before, Google owns YouTube. It's not just Facebook. Facebook owns WhatsApp. It owns Instagram. You know, these companies, they own everywhere. Like, and Amazon. Amazon isn't just, you know, a shipping company. It is literally a media company. And it is literally infiltrating itself into so many different ways. I mean, they just recently bought Whole Foods.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to enter into the grocery business. But Jeff, I can never pronounce his last name right, Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, you are familiar that he actually owns the Washington Post. So now you have these major media corporations. You know, Amazon is part of what we refer to as the Frightful Five. These 5 enormous media companies that really shape America. And yet they own the newspapers. They own the newspapers. You know, I remember it was Rick Joyner that has said before that every single thing that the liberal news says, that if you can like literally just take it and write a book of everything the liberal news says, ABC, NBC, ABC, whatever they are, the Washington Post, Huffington Post, if you can paint a picture and literally just look upon it and read on it of what they believe, he says if you can actually believe the polar opposite of what they're telling you, you'll be closer to the truth. What a radical statement. So Jeff Bezos, however you say his name, who owns Washington Post, they published an article less than 2 weeks ago talking about the same thing. It was actually entitled, "As Alex Jones Rails Against Big Tech, His InfoWars Stores Still Thrive Online." So they're taking it away. He receives basically all of his payments with his online store, the millions of dollars. The system that he uses is PayPal, and they're coming after it. Here's the thing. I love what this article says here. It really does represent the ultimate de facto communist Chinese-style social credit score, where first you're demonized, then you're censored, and before you realize it, your basic right to engage in free commerce is gone. You see, the waters are boiling. The water just keeps getting hotter and hotter. And I feel like the church at large has no idea that they're coming for you and I. You know, even though PayPal, they still offer their services to Palestinian organizations that are linked to terrorism. They still offer their services to them. They still offer their services, like I said, radicals like Louis Farrakhan. You see, this has to do with taking out the voices. Mm-hmm. All of the media outlets are Christian and conservative haters. I mean, can you name a single platform that has your best interests in mind, that platform isn't just like some little itty-bitty tacky platform that reaches 5,000 people? I'm talking about, can you name a platform that reaches the world, that content is reached through for the world that is conservative? Let me tell you, no, you can't. You can't name one. It's a big fat zero. And I'm telling you right now that unless Christians unite and build a platform for the end days so that we can get our voices out. And let me tell you, mass censorship is happening right now, but on a mass scale, it might not happen for 5 years. I mean, it may not happen for 10 years. I don't know. But if we don't get together now and build something for the kingdom so that the gospel of Jesus Christ can go out whenever everyone else is being silenced on these God-hating media platforms, if we don't build it now, then that day, it'll be too late. You'll be saying in that day, I wish we would have built something. Well, we can. We can do it now before it is too late. We have got to create a Christian platform. And I do believe that the Lord has put this in my heart. I don't know what it's going to look like, who the Lord is going to bring to this thing, but we're going to create a network. And from that point, we're going to create a platform for Christians and conservatives to get the message out in the end times. Andrew, the media purge is taking place right now, and I know that God, He gave you a word about this last night, about this media purge and what's really taking place in the spiritual realm. What did the Lord reveal to you?
Well, what I really want to highlight is that we have been talking a lot about Alex Jones. And it may be easy for you to say, Alex Jones, he's a far right-wing nut, like he says crazy things. And, you know, it might be hard for you to relate to him and you think that this is just some outside example. But the fact is, it's not. There is already beginning to be persecution against people who just have dissenting voices.
Dissenting voices.
So here's an article from Zero Hedge, and it says, "The social media purge and how it affects everyone." This is just a first-person account of what is being seen right now in the culture. It says, "Just about every website owner I know is feeling personally victimized by the recent social media purge that has been going on." But here's an interesting fact. It isn't, as it is widely perceived, just conservative voices that are being silenced. It is dissenting voices. It is the voices of critical thinkers whose ideas run the gamut of philosophies, who find that they no longer have much in way of reach. And
before you go on, I wouldn't say that it is important to understand that it is, like he said, this article is saying it's not just Christian or conservative. For the most part it is. But it's dissenting voices. Any voice that simply comes against their plans for the world.
Exactly. And what God was showing me in preparation for the show a few nights ago, I was just praying, and I opened the Bible right to Revelation 12. And this is what God showed me. In Revelation 12, 3 through 5, it says, "And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne." And what God was showing me is that the plan of Satan is always to destroy the work of God as soon as it's born.
That's right.
When you look at Jesus, when he was born and Herod heard of the prophecy of this Messiah that was going to rule over all of Israel, he sent out an order to kill all of the children who were under 2 years of age. Whenever God wants to birth something, to change the world and to bring his people into his promise, Satan wants to destroy it as soon as it's born.
Wow.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we believe with this ministry, the calling that God has given Zach and the calling that God has given me is that there's going to be a huge move of the Spirit of God in this generation. And the tool that God is going to use to bring about this revival, essentially, is media. He's going to build a media platform that is going to essentially trump all media platforms. It's going to be huge. And that's the work of God. That's what he wants to do. And I believe that what we're seeing with this assault of the left on all dissenting voices in media is Satan basically trying to destroy the work of God before it even has a chance to take root.
There's a massive shift taking place. And I agree. I've casted the vision before Andrew. I'm going to continue casting the vision forever until it literally becomes a reality. Until the day I die, the Lord called me my junior year of high school. He called me to media. Media. And it's all things media. Right now you're looking at one show, and it's a news service show. It's a show that talks about what's happening in the world, but we also do want to have a message of hope as well. But it's one show. This is literally just the beginning. My dream is to literally have an entire network, and there are places that are even in central Illinois, and I'm not going to get into it, but my dream is there's an incredible old theater. And I don't mean theater where they put movies. It was like an opera theater. Seats 1,500 people in a really awesome central location with lots of buildings and restaurants around it. I think that's going to be the next step. After phase 1, phase 2 is that. But I'm telling you that it's going to be where we want to build something for the people. And it literally might, in those theaters, we might have major productions, have Christian comedians come through. We're going to have, everything. If you can imagine what is going to bless the people, it's not just a single news program. It is a platform for Christian entertainment, for Christian media. But it is the underlining thing of it all is that it's for the end times, and it's to lead that wandering generation into the promised land, which is Jesus. That's the ultimate goal of everything, is to bring people to Jesus. And my generation, whenever they view Christian television as a whole, it's corny. It's cheesy. They don't want to watch it. Christian media needs a facelift. Something needs to take place. We need to revolutionize Christian media. And that is what we're about here at IGBY. And what's happening with Alex Jones, I want to finish with this final quote. It really is like another Antichrist is about to come upon the scene for world domination. In the same way the first Antichrist, if you will, people would say that he's going to have the spirit of Nimrod of the Old Testament. And literally we can see throughout history who Satan was upon that was going to be leading this Antichrist system. One of them was clearly Hitler, right? And his purge of one by one of a particular people, and he ultimately came for everyone. There's a quote that I'm kind of pairing this to with what I see with Alex Jones. And it's a quote by Martin Niemöller. He was a German Lutheran pastor that lived during World War II and all of the Holocaust. He lived in Germany. He was very close to Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And he publicly would resist Adolf Hitler. And he spent many of the years of World War II in concentration camps. And there's a famous quote from him. And I'm going to read it to you here today. First they came for the socialists. And I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. And I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. You see, there is a systematic takeout of people groups in America right now. And it starts with people like Alex Jones, who you may not be able to identify with because he's a radical person. In the same way he says, well, first they came with the socialists, the radical sect of people that you don't really quite agree with. But the ultimate goal is they're coming for you and I. And we've got to stand together and truly build a platform. What is a platform? Facebook is a platform. YouTube is a platform. Twitter is a platform. We need to have a major platform, kind of like Alibaba in China, which is essentially Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay, all put into one major organization called Alibaba in China. We need something like that for the Christians. Mm-hmm. And that God is going to move mightily. I'm telling you, the glory of God is going to come through the video cameras right into your living room. It's coming. Be ready. Stand with us. We need 400 people to stand with us on a monthly basis to get the studio finished, to get this first level, phase 1 of the vision to be completed. And I believe that could literally happen if people get the fire within them. I believe it can happen in the next few weeks. Nothing is impossible for the Lord. Hey, we love you guys. And we'll see you next week.